This is Hands Like Hide, a podcast for men who know the weight of a long day, the ache of sore hands, and the pull for something more. Through raw stories, biblical truth, and practical wisdom, we explore recovery, growth, and how to become the man you were intended to be. Because every job teaches, and every story has the power to transform you and everyone you lead. Let's get to work. So welcome to Hands Like Hide. I'm your host, Charlie Pfeiffer, where every job teaches and every story transformed. I have another really special ghost. Wow. We did just come out of Halloween season. Guest today, Bob Spiegel. He joins me from Dallas, Texas. Let me just tell you what he's all about. So he's a certified master professional coach working in the field of sex addiction and betrayal trauma after infidelity. He focuses with coaching men in sex addiction sobriety, men's relational recovery with their partners, both individually and in groups, and he also facilitates disclosures and intensives. Bob, welcome to Hands Like Hide. How are you?
Thank you. Well, better than I deserve.
Yes, sir. How's it going in Texas? For all my northern brothers up here in Pennsylvania, it's starting to get super cold. What's up down there?
No, we're not doing that yet. It's 70 right now.
No kidding.
No, wait a minute. Oh, 84. We're going to say it's 84.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's been kind of crazy around here. It really has. Kind of crazy weather. Nice though at the same time.
Yeah, we're starting to plummet. We got the wood stove going. It's been windy as heck right now up here. And I don't know if it's just coming out of Canada or something, but working outside is starting to get frustrating. You get wind chapped and all that on your cheeks.
Yeah, well, I will say that November 1 is rifle season for us here, deer season, and it was nice to be out there on that weekend. We weren't all sweating like crazy,
right.
So that was nice. That was a change from what we've had most other years.
Yeah. Speaking of hunting season, the other day, my wife and I and son, we were coming back from getting some supper and backcountry road. And here's this big buck just standing right in the middle of the road. And when he saw my headlights, he turned and he's like staring at my car and he wouldn't move. He's just like standing there. And then he finally did turn around, but he ran right down the yellow line, right away from me, and he had this really weird lope, like his back end kept like kicking out sideways, and then he finally ran off up into the woods where he just like stopped and stared at me again, and we were laughing. We were laughing so hard. Such a dumb deer. They're in the rut, so they're just chasing tail.
Yep.
Tell us about you and your story and the men you work with. Obviously we're comfortable having these conversations because it's also my story, chasing tail when I shouldn't have. And you have this really cool story. I know from what I know about you, retired excavating contractor, that fits right in with Hands Like Hide and guys who work every day and want to get better and grow. So say more about that. Like, just tell us about yourself.
Sure. Well, actually, a German immigrant, full-blood German to start with. Got here through my stepfather, who was Private E1 in Karlsruhe, Germany, where he met my mother that had divorced my father. And so got here and ended up in the South, mostly down in Georgia and Alabama. Then had the opportunity to go to the United States Military Academy at West Point. And made my first duty station, Fort Hood, Texas. Who would ever thought I was going to be in Texas? But at any rate, that's where I ended up after my, 5 years. We had a 5-year obligation back in that day. I don't know what it is today, but at any rate, decided that, after doing all the adventure schools, jumping out of perfectly good airplanes and walking through swamps and doing all that kind of fun stuff, that I was kind of built for adventure, and risk. And so, the excavation business just looked like a natural to me.
Yeah.
But anyway, I did that. My wife and I actually owned the business together, and we did that for about 40 years. And At the end of that 40 years, we closed it down in 2021, decided to move closer to some of our kids. Have three kids, and actually one of them lives up in Minneapolis. The other two here are in the Dallas area. And so that's what got us here. And then, after a little while, we had closed the company. So what was I going to do? Go back into construction. Anyway, I kind of felt like the Lord was leading me to become a coach,
Mm-hmm.
become a relationship coach on a uh, topic that's very near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
At an early age, I got involved in looking at magazines, porn. Actually, when I was 10, I was sexually molested by an adult,
Mm-hmm.
which definitely kind of helped set the trajectory of me going forward. Certainly made me very curious about sexuality at a very early age. Of course, then later on, got married. And, like most of us, we think, hey, we have all the sex in the world now, so it's all good. Not going to need any of that stuff anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be a lie. Um, because, here comes the pornography, got involved in pornography, then got involved with prostitutes, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2000, I went to my wife. We lived in a smaller town where many people knew about my escapades. And as a result, and the kids were in high school, there's talk. I went to Connie and I said, look, Connie, I said, you got to divorce me. I don't know how to stop. I don't know how to stop this stuff. And so we did. We divorced at the end of 2000. And then by the grace of God, I went during that 3 year period. We remarried in 2003, but during that period, I went through a Christian men's 12-step program,
Mm-hmm.
which allowed me to have some sobriety and made her feel safe enough. And we remarried in 2003. And I'd love to be able to say, hey, it was all butterflies and unicorns after that, but that would be a lie. Excuse me, because 4 years back into the remarriage, I was back dabbling in porn again.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it wasn't until 2012, December 17, 2012, as a matter of fact, that she found some stuff on my computer. A couple of days later, she came to me and she said, look, I love you, I care about you, and I want this relationship. I want a marriage, but here's what I need in order to be safe, to feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And so she gave me three boundaries. And big note here, Charlie, it's not about control. It's not
Right.
about control. She wasn't trying to control me. She gave me a choice.
Right.
She she had three boundaries for herself. One was for me to find a counselor. Number two was to go back to, I was a product of the Every Man's Battle workshop,
Got it.
and I went back to attend it, and then I got involved in a group. Those were her three requirements. So December 17, 2012 was the beginning of my sobriety. And by the grace of God, today I have 12 years and 11 months.
12
Uh,
years, 11 months.
to the day, as a matter of fact, because
No
today is
way.
the 17th. How
Today's the
about that,
17th.
huh?
Congratulations.
So next month it'll be 13. And
Wow.
so, look, first off, recognize that, I put my wife through hell for about 35 years. Okay. Uh, Dribble disclosures over and over and over again. You know, how she's still with me today is by God's grace only, I
Mm-hmm.
guarantee you. Uh, and so, you know, this is such a, it's everywhere.
Yep.
It's everywhere. You know, uh, we used to listen to this itinerant pastor, and he would say, sin, back row, front row, choir, platform.
Yeah.
And it's everywhere. And it really is wrecking a lot of lives, a lot of marriages, a lot of families, you know.
Yes, it is.
And so once we got here to Dallas, I was trying to figure out what was I going to do. My wife Connie, she is a coach. She's been coaching for probably 13 years now. And you know, there's a woman out there that's a partner, number one, a betrayed partner, and number two, a coach that believes in reconciling relationships. It's her.
Mm,
She just has a heart for that. You know, she works with a lot of betrayed partners. So we're trying to figure out, okay, what do we, you know, what's Bob going to do?
mm.
You know, and so yeah, I'm in my third career. This is the most rewarding job I've ever had, to be
Wow.
able to help other men get free from these compulsive behaviors, okay, and then to rebuild trust with their
Right.
wives and to have an emotionally intimately connected relationship, you know.
Right.
And as guys that are struggling with pornography and other compulsive sexual behaviors, you know, it's well, I mean, this addiction to these things, it's an intimacy disorder, is what it is, you know.
Right.
And we get this notion that intimacy is about the bedroom, and that's not what intimacy is about, right? You know, we have want to be physically intimate, have sex,
Right.
to feel emotionally connected. And that's just as backwards, right?
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be that emotional connection, which then leads to naturally, organically leads to physical connection, you know?
Yeah. So let's
Uh,
a couple questions. Number one, thank you for just sharing like that overall big picture story of, beginning, middle to where you are now.
yeah,
How old were you like when you first discovered porn?
eight,
You were
8 years
8 years
old.
old.
Found
Okay.
my stepfather's Playboy magazines under the cushion in the chair in the living room.
Yeah, see, because I was 13, and I think it's really interesting too, because I'm sure there's a lot of guys who will listen to this episode and think to themselves, "Am I the only one that discovered when I was whatever age as a really young boy?" And it's everywhere. 8, 13. I know. I think I was in a group with guys like 5 or 6. You know,
Mm-hmm.
first grade, experimenting with masturbation in first grade. Um, and it's just really helpful, I think, to, I guess, yeah, not feel like you're the only one who is dealing with these things. I can relate with you. I was molested when I was 17 by a Christian school teacher. So uh, I think more men deal with that aspect of their brokenness, which will lead to acting out behaviors to try to numb all that pain and contribute to it just as much. Um, when I got married, there were for years. You're talking about intimacy. My wife and I spending time together. There were situations where I would find myself getting really triggered and hypervigilant, and anxiety would go way up. And pre-recovery, I've since understood that those are just triggers from the time that I went through that molesting situation with all
Sure
of that,
can
and
be.
here it is
Yeah.
coming out as an adult 20 years later. And I was talking to somebody today, and she was saying how, like, just out of nowhere, she started thinking about this person, and she just kind of went on and on about the story. And she's like, and there wasn't any obvious things to trigger the memory. And so I think it might have been maybe God bringing it or whatever.
Mhm.
And I didn't really necessarily tell her, but most of our triggers happen subconscious.
Yes.
You don't even know. So say something about that.
Well, for sure. The what we would call implicit memories. Implicit memories. In other words, uh, I implicitly in the morning, I get up, I go in, comb my hair, uh, take my medications, come into the kitchen, make a cup of coffee. You know, I don't have to. Okay, I don't have to get up and go. Let's see, what am I going to do now? What am I going to do first? What am I going to do second? I mean, it's not a. I don't have to think about it. It's just there. And,
Yeah.
and those kind of, it's, call it brain memory, I call it anyway, is brain. We have muscle memory, we have brain
Yeah.
memory the
Hmm.
same way. Those memories are stored in there, and certain things happen, and we just react. We just react.
And that implicit memory then can also, well, like you say, react, but then it could also bring up a person or a conversation,
Oh yeah,
which then, as we think about that scenario or that person or conversation, will lead us to act.
yes, can I? You know, Charlie, I think you probably remember when we did the group together that I believe that emotions drive behavior.
Yeah.
Emotions drive behavior, and for most of us that got into all of this, into these compulsive behaviors, which actually become unwanted. The first time I heard that word, unwanted behaviors, I'm going, no, I did want them back then, but they get to the place where, it's like the guy that smoked all his life. And one morning wakes up and he goes, I'm smoking more and enjoying it less.
Hmm.
Yeah, okay. Uh, we get to that, we kind of get to that place. Uh, but the emotions, and I'll give you a little example. So this was probably mid 90s. My wife and I were in the bedroom. She was sitting with her back to me. I'm sitting over here on the edge of the bed, and we're having a conversation. It's a heated, passionate conversation. And finally, as my face is getting red and I'm mad, I yell at her and I go, "Well, damn it, I'm just not as emotional as you are."
Mm.
And she slowly turned her head, Charlie. And if she'd had lasers in her eyes, she would have cut my head clean off. Okay. And she says this, and she wasn't a coach. She didn't have any of this, the help that's available today, okay, for all of this, the addiction and betrayal trauma. She says, "Oh, yeah, Bob, that's right. You are just totally led by your emotions."
Hmm.
And Charlie, if I'd have gotten the significance of what she said, it could have changed the trajectory of our relationship, okay, and my life. As it was, it went treetop tall,
Yeah, she
right
gave
over
you a
my head.
huge gift, and yeah, right.
But that's exactly what it is. And I considered myself an emotional midget most of my life.
Mm.
I couldn't pinpoint emotion that I was experiencing in the moment to save my life. You
Right.
know, all I knew is my head was about to blow up, and I knew how to make that go away.
That's it.
And that's why, a lot of things I do now and I participate in now, 12 years ago, I'd have said, nah, that ain't happening. You're crazy, but all of this stuff is important. You know what I mean? And, we all struggle. We're men, okay? We're men to start with.
That's it.
So we have this ego thing that we have to deal with. And we got this macho image that we have to deal with, right? And those things aren't necessarily best for us. Okay.
Hmm.
I'm not saying it's all bad. It's not. We're all have that tendency, okay? Like I said, we're men, we got testosterone running through our veins. Hmm. But the lack of the emotional understanding, the emotional IQ,
Hmm.
not
That's
in,
a good term.
not the intelligent one, but the emotional IQ is what ends up keeping us stuck where we are,
Right.
and we consistently do these things. It's so fast. Okay. There's this thing called the cycle of addiction, right? And so something happens and I do this.
Right.
Something happens and I do this. And it's automatic. I mean, there's the trigger, which either can be an external trigger, in other words, a billboard I see,
Right.
a woman I see, or it can be something internal, emotional. Okay. It's it's amps me up, and immediately I go into the preoccupation.
Yep.
As Jason Martinkus would say, I rotated on the rotisserie of my brain. I'm,
Yep.
I'm objectifying now, right?
Yep.
and I'm thinking about this. And then I kind of go into some ritualization. Different guys will do different kind of rituals. Uh, and then once you get past the ritual, it's full on, because now dopamine has flooded the prefrontal cortex, which is where we do our executive functioning thinking. Okay. That's where impulse control lives, and other things. It's flooded, it's offline. There's only one thing that we're thinking about.
Yep.
It's tunnel vision and pursuing my destructive behavior.
Yeah,
That's
you
it.
hear questions like the aftermath. What were you thinking? And the guy says, I don't know. They don't know what they're thinking because exactly right. Like things shut down. So, what point in that cycle of addiction, that matrix, is the point of no return? Then,
To me, it's once we go into the ritualization. There's the preoccupation, and then we do some kind of a little ritual. Okay, a ritual like guy buys a pack of cigarettes. What's the first thing he does?
hmm
Packs it, right? Packs it. Get a can of Skull.
yep, yep,
Those are kind of rituals. Maybe it's I close the mini blinds. You know what I mean? I'm edging that way, and these are the little things that I do beforehand. Once we get past that ritualization, I think it's pretty much the airplane going down the runway. Okay,
yeah,
and it's going for takeoff. But how can we not do those things? Well, how can we not do those things? Is by doing what we call true intimacy.
hmm
Intimacy is just connection, right? It's
hmm
connecting. It's
into me,
connecting.
see, right?
Yeah, intimacy,
Yeah,
right? It's connecting with God, right? Connecting with this guy,
right.
right? I give guys this thing called a daily self-assessment. It's a body, soul, spirit concept, right? Body is the carton. Soul contains the mind, the will, and the emotions, right? Mind, my thoughts, my will, and my emotions. And then, of course, there's a spirit. And so, what am I feeling in my body? Do I feel pain somewhere? What am I thinking today?
hmm
What are some positive thoughts I have today? What are some negative thoughts I have today? What commitments am I going to make today? What emotions do I feel? We give everybody that feelings wheel, right?
That's it.
I didn't even have a wheel. I just had pages of emotional words
Yep.
that I had to go down and start looking at. And, what does that one mean? What does that mean? Oh, that's what I feel this way. Okay.
Well, that's
But
even
that's where it all starts.
that's even an art in and of itself because what you're talking about is like increasing self-awareness. So number one, to recognize when you start preoccupation, start ritualizing, things like that. But then even to back it up, to just to have enough self-awareness to say like, so what are you feeling right now? I feel unzipped.
Yeah.
Right? What does that even mean? Most guys say nothing. I don't feel nothing. Or I'm just pissed. Right? Like a lot of times, at least for me, when people ask you, I knew what insecure was. I could say that because I was insecure all the time. But like, yeah, angry. Uh, I could name the big five, right? Mad, glad, sad, lonely, and afraid. That was fairly easy, but that's like 6-year-olds know that too. And
Yeah. Good. Good. Feeling good.
exactly. But
Yeah.
getting deeper to try to like pinpoint exactly what it is that your emotions are going, because then yeah, we have that connection. You reach out to a guy, you reach out to God, and more importantly, you talk to your wife and you open up and you say, "Here's what I'm feeling. Here's what's going on." That's an art. That's a skill. That's a muscle.
Yes. And see, those kind of things that's where that ego and the macho image
Mm.
get in our way.
Mm-hmm.
Get in our way. No, yeah, no, that's not for me. I'm the guy. I'm the man.
Right. So I was
I
just
don't need all
thinking,
that stuff.
military, jumping out of perfectly good airplanes, and then excavating contractor. So also have been in the trucking industry and construction industry for a while. I know a lot of excavators, and they're typically pretty macho. They drive big machines around that move lots of earth, no problem. You know what I mean? So,
Hmm.
how did
Hey,
all that? Go ahead.
it's just like if you don't show up with an F-250, you ain't nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's some truth in that. I got a F-350 dually diesel. You know it.
Never went that big, but anyway, at least you had to have a 250,
Oh
F-250.
man, that's funny. Um, you said something that I would love to unpack a little bit with you,
Yeah,
and that is, I talk a lot about on this channel that if you're not sure how you're doing, ask your wife. She'll tell you. And so you mentioned your wife gave you three boundaries that weren't designed to control,
that's right.
but really lit the fire under your hind end to do something, right? So say more about what that felt like. What did you experience? Because you also shared your wife turned to you and gave you this big gift, like your emotions are like lead. There's nothing there. It's just, and you missed that one. But then a few years later, you're able to receive another big chunk of feedback, and just talk about, I guess, the power that the way God designed our wives to bear His image and how that relates in the marriage dynamic, right? To help us as men and husbands and fathers grow and our characters to transform.
Well, I didn't see it so much as control at that point. I mean, I knew she was giving me a choice. Okay. I recognized she was giving me a choice that if we were going to stay married and I'd get divorced again, we'd already done that once. I already knew what that would look like. So I knew I didn't want to go back there, and I dearly loved her. I do. I did and I do. So, like I said, at that point, it wasn't, I didn't take it that way. Um, I just got serious about it in order for us to be able to have a better relationship. And I knew I needed to get free from this stuff. I mean? I needed to get free from it. And, I said earlier, back in 2001 and 2, I had a spiritual renewal. I had kind of a prodigal son kind of experience, okay, doing that Christian 12 steps. And so, the question would be, well, okay, what are you telling me? You're telling me Jesus isn't enough? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that I had dealt with the spiritual part. I had not dealt with the body, and I had not dealt with the soul, mind, the will, and the emotions. And there was no healing in those areas yet. That's what I started on, starting at the end of December of 2012. I
Okay.
started working on that, started looking into that, started to try to understand what was driving me, what were the emotions that were driving me, and looking for ways other than acting out
Mm-hmm.
to try to meet them. See, this is actually comes from Jason Martinkus, who was the guy that got me sober. Okay,
Okay.
uh, he talks about how life happens every day,
Mm-hmm.
right? Life happens. Some of it's nice, some of it's good, some of not so good, some of it's just downright awful,
Mm-hmm.
ugly, right? He talks about how we have these core wounds that are all about shame, and so when we're feeling insignificant, incompetent, or impotent, meaning powerless,
Okay.
those are all shame statements of who we are. There's all kinds of emotions that can tap into one or all three of those core wounds: insignificant, incompetent, impotent, or powerless. Or I almost can equate hopelessness with the powerlessness.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
kind of a hopeless feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's say that let's say that I'm feeling rejected today.
Okay.
Maybe my wife is real rejecting to me today, okay? Or maybe my boss chewed me out or something. I felt rejected. I feel rejected, okay? I feel kind of out of control with life because everything that's going on around me and everything's crazy, okay? Well, when was the last time a porn site rejected you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Never.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? When we have those kind of emotions, there's actually a legitimate human need that is set up. Okay, if I'm feeling rejected, what am I probably needing? Probably looking for some acceptance.
Would you agree or disagree with the comment like porn wasn't isn't the problem, it's the solution?
Well, a false solution, yes. A
But in
false,
turn, yeah, for sure. Like it's not healthy.
no.
It's not godly. It's not beneficial. But in terms of the idea of like if I'm feeling rejected, but I'm never rejected by porn. So in some ways, you know what I mean?
You're right, Charlie. That's exactly right. What it's doing, it's offsetting the rejection piece, okay? And kind of sort of meeting the need a little bit, right? Because
Right.
when I get there, I don't feel rejected. I feel accepted by these women that are there on these videos and whatnot, right?
Right.
Am I in control? Am I powerful now?
100%.
No, I get to choose
Yep.
what I'm going to watch, right?
Yep.
What's going to trip my trigger today?
Yep.
The false intimacy. Remember, I said earlier, addiction is really an intimacy disorder.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's a false intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's true intimacy? Well, true intimacy is connection. True intimacy is connecting with God, self, and others.
Right.
Right. Being able to having other men that I can pick up the phone and say, "Hey, man, I was in the shower this morning and I was washing myself really, really, really hard. But I didn't do anything." See what I mean? Somebody that you can trust, that you can let them see into you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And share what's going on in my life with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I can get my needs met. That's where I can get that acceptance, appreciation, validation, okay, by talking with another guy, who's kind of maybe going through the same things that I'm going through.
Mm-hmm. So back to because I feel like there's a little bit more I think to explore with just the just how powerful the influence your wife has been with her own strength and health to kind of get you into that deeper levels of healing and recovery,
Yeah.
right? So, I
Well,
mean, go ahead.
yeah, no, that's the first thing to really to realize about that. And look, most guys we have no idea. And there's two reasons for that. Number one, we're men.
Right.
Number two, we can't think like a woman,
Well,
okay?
no idea what.
About what these kind of behaviors do to a
Got
wife,
it.
a
Yes.
partner, okay?
Yep.
I mean, we're talking in the areas of physically, psychologically, mentally, socially, okay, in all realms.
Yep.
We men have very little understanding of how our behaviors impact them. And after discovery, okay, of infidelity, whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
it's a betrayal. It's a betrayal. You know, I mean, hopefully in most cases for guys, when she said I do at the altar, she meant it.
Right.
I mean, if your wife has been promiscuous, that's a different story. But assuming that she hasn't been, that's what she meant it. She meant it. I'm going to be faithful to you. And there's an implied contract of, and I expect you to be faithful to me,
That's right.
right?
Yep.
And so when guys get into, once they get sober, you know, you and I can celebrate our sobriety date, right? They can't celebrate that. That's
Yeah.
what they've expected from day one.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll never forget. I think maybe it was like year three or something like that. I said to Sarah, like, yeah, today's actually my third year, sober 3 years. And she just looked at me like, good for
Okay,
you. Exactly. Like,
right.
we should
But
have never
so
had a
that's the,
sobriety date.
that's the next step. And I have the privilege of working with guys that have established sobriety. Okay, and I'm talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of sobriety, but the relationship is still in the tank.
Mm,
Okay, and the relationship hasn't improved. Uh, and understanding what betrayal trauma is all about and the things that our wives are going through. Uh, People want to say that, oh, she's acting crazy. She's digging into this and digging into that and looking for this. And why is she doing that?
Hmm.
Because she's trying to make sure that her guy is not out screwing around on her again,
Hmm.
right? We call it safety seeking behaviors.
Hmm.
Guess who created that woman?
That's right. That's right.
It's like, okay, well, who brought us to this dance? Who brought
Yeah.
us to the dance that we're in?
I'm reading Stephen Covey's book Seven Principles for Highly Effective People right now, and he had a quote that just jumped out at me, and he said, "Words can't fix problems that behavior created." And when you're talking about betrayal trauma, you know, especially like with staggered disclosure or discovery, dribble discovery, she knows about it. I'll get better. And 6 months later, she finds something else, oh, I'm sorry, I'll never do it again. Those words mean nothing, because like your behaviors haven't changed. And that's where I think, and say more about this, guys who 3, 4, 5 years out have sobriety, maybe they're dry drunks, to use the alcoholic term, because
Yeah.
the heart hasn't changed, the emotions, the attitudes. And recently, like, again, Sarah and I are approaching 4 years through our healing journey now. And just recently, she said to me, I'm going to paraphrase it, there are behaviors of yours that are causing me to weigh the options if leaving is more painful than staying. And, you know, that was a huge gift, and it broke my heart to hear her say that. And it just, I went to some guys to talk about it. I opened up my journal and I started just like doing some heart searching, going like, what is wrong with me? What's in here that I'm creating this environment where she's thinking, she's weighing these options? And I'm like, whoa. So that's what you're talking about, guys who later on, the relationship's still in the tank. There's still some things going on there. But then, what about the guy who just really struggles to receive that honest feedback from their wives? They just brush it off. They don't want to hear it. That has to contribute to a relationship that just won't turn around.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Here, let's just run down my list of top six. Okay. In order to What happens at discovery? What happens once she finds out? Okay. Oh, trust is broken, right?
Yep.
Trust is destroyed. There is no trust. And that's why she's doing these safety seeking behaviors, trying to make sure that her guy is being faithful now, right? And it takes time. It takes time. Okay. This is sobriety nor rebuilding a relationship and rebuilding trust with a betrayed partner. It's not a sprint,
Mm-mm.
it's a marathon. It's more of a marathon. Okay. Now
There's
there's
no quick
all
fix.
things are going off in my head here, but let's stick to the six right now. So what's the first thing for rebuilding? Oh, and I was going to say, look, what else does a wife, partner, what else does she have to go on other than trust?
Hmm.
If she's walking around with us all day, holding our hand, she knows where I'm at, she knows what I'm doing. In the absence of that, she doesn't.
That's it.
And look, betrayed partners cannot help but catastrophize all of this. If he did
Right.
this, he must have done that. And she talks to the neighbor, and her husband's messing around doing this or that. Oh, I bet my guy did that too. Okay. And they can't help that. It's trust, okay, that has to be rebuilt. So, step number one, we stop the offensive behaviors.
That's it.
Sobriety is ground zero. That's
Change the
where it
behavior.
starts,
Yep.
okay? That's number one. Number two, total honesty. Total honesty. No secrets, no lies. And I include in that mutual decision making. Mutual decision making,
Mm-hmm.
right? Number three is connection. We have to start doing we call it a safer check in,
Mm-hmm.
where He gets to talk about what's going on with him, how he's doing in his sobriety, what he's learning about himself, what he's doing. Okay, these kind of things. She gets to talk about today. My safety level on a scale of 1 to 10 is
Hmm.
2, or maybe it's 5, or maybe it's 6. Okay, that's good intel for us. She
Hmm.
gets to say how she, when the time during the week where she felt the safest. She gets to talk about, hey, you can make me feel safer by blank. That's connection. That's communication. Okay, that has to be there. Number 4, consistency. Consistency. Is he going to do what he says he's going to do? And let me tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, great partners watch for that every day. And it's the little things, not just the big things. It's the little stuff, you know? Yeah, honey. Okay, I'll pick up the milk that you need for that recipe tonight. I'll pick it up on my way home. It's home. I
Where's the
forgot.
milk? Yeah.
Okay, so how does she feel now? Does she feel prioritized? Does she feel chosen, valued? No, she doesn't. So, consistency. Number 4 is what I call being able to hang. What does that mean? That means being able to stay present when with her when she's coming to me vulnerably, needing clarification, needing help with this trigger that she's experiencing, help with these emotions that she's dealing with. Okay. Now, most guys fail miserably at this
Hmm.
because we go into defensiveness, right? We
Well,
go into
I'm sure
defensiveness.
triggers what impotence, incompetence, and significance, right? Those three
Yeah,
things probably get triggered pretty quick when she's expressing her pain.
absolutely. Absolutely. And, for a lot of us, we end up shutting down, right? We just shut down. And so here you've got this wife who is needing some help, okay? Needing being able to understand this and process this, okay? And she's got this bump on a log over here sitting across the room from her
Yeah.
that she can't seem to get anything out of. What do you think she's going to do? Well, she's going to try harder.
Oh
She's
yeah.
going to try harder, right? That means she's going to escalate.
Yep.
There may be some louder words, there may be some sailor words coming at you.
Hmm.
Guys see those all as threats.
Hmm.
The threat, you know, if I punch you in the nose, you are going to react somehow,
Right.
right? You're either going to hit me back, you're going to fall down on the ground in a puddle, or you're going to run away. You're going to do one of those three. There will be a reaction, and that's what happens in this dynamic. Is the guys will react because they see it as a threat. They see it all as a threat. No, it's not a threat. If she's doing those things, you're not doing the right thing. You're not responding to her. We can either react or we can respond. Brain can't do both at the same time. It's one or the other.
Right.
And so it's a big problem.
Excuse me. So I'm hearing you say that uh, a husband's or a man's capacity to connect with his wife emotionally directly affects her ability to regulate when she needs to express and work through pain and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely, Charlie. Absolutely. That's exactly it. That's it. And that's what she's needing. Look, it takes an emotional response from us
Yep.
to help her heal,
Yep.
to help her with her pain, the hurt, and the damage,
Yep.
okay, that she's experiencing. It takes an emotional connection, emotional response.
Yep.
I think most of us used to think that, the bigger our muscles and the better we look, that's what's going to attract a woman.
Right. That's the sensitive guy.
That's right. It's the guy that's willing to share his heart with her,
Yeah.
right? That's
And
the guy
guys,
she's looking for.
and then to kind of pull it back to the whole recovery side of things, men seeking, needing connection and intimacy is required to overcome the unwanted behavior. They learn how to do this in a safe environment with another man.
That's it. That's it. That's it. And, I think I know the first time I ever walked into an Every Man's Battle workshop, it's like, oh, I'm not the only one, right?
Yeah.
And it was eye opening. Uh, And so yeah, we need to be in the presence of other guys, other guys that are struggling with the same things, that are trying to overcome, where we help each other, right? I think of it in terms of one blind guy showing another blind guy where the bread is,
Hmm.
right?
Interesting. Do you think, because here's a question, I've heard this a lot, I've said this a lot. If she doesn't know, it doesn't hurt her. So my question is, can a wife experience the effects of betrayal trauma pre-discovery if he's keeping it all hidden? Can she still experience those effects?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, she knows. There's not many betrayed partners that didn't have some inkling,
Yeah.
it's their gut,
Yeah.
okay? It's their gut. They have that extra sense that we don't have, right?
Yep.
That something's just not right. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
something seems off,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And that's one of the things that gets devastated once discovery does happen. Now they can't trust their gut anymore.
Oh man, yeah.
It's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing. And let me say this too. Trade partners wake up every morning. This is not everybody. I'm generalizing, okay? But trade partners, generally speaking, when they wake up in the morning, they're going, and they don't do this literally, but okay, who am I going to get today? Who am I going to get today? Am I going to get the guy that swept me off my feet, that romanced me and dated me, and I married the guy I thought I was going to drive right off into the sunset with?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I going to get guy number two, who was the liar, the guy that was acting out and doing all those things,
The snake in
but
the grass.
making me believe that I was crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Or am I going to get guy number three, the guy that's in real true recovery? And I need to preface that by saying that, for communication, when we communicate with each other, 7% of that communication is the words that we say.
Right.
7%.
Mm-hmm.
7%. 38% is how we say them. Are we going to say them like this in a loud voice, aggressive voice, or are we going to say it in a nice, calm, tender voice?
Right.
Okay. That's 38%. The pace of the words, all that kind of stuff. 55% is the body language. So what am I telling you? What I'm saying is that 93% of communication is nonverbal.
Mm-hmm.
Nonverbal. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'll give you a perfect example. This was several years ago. I was going through a lot of stress, and both physically and financially and that kind of thing. And all of a sudden, one day, Connie says, I think I'm going to need you to take a poly.
Hmm.
Okay, I'll schedule it.
When you say poly, you mean polygraph.
Polygraph, yeah,
Yeah.
a
Mm-hmm.
polygraph. And we talked about it. Why did she end up saying that? Because my tone and my body language and the way I was acting and behaving reminded her of guy number two, the liar.
Hmm.
And that happens quite often, okay, where we start behaving like we did back the way we did then.
Right.
And so that's why I say it's all of our communication is important.
See, and that actually connects with what my wife shared with me here recently about behaviors, your attitudes, your thought processes. Your wife said, I need you to take a poly. My wife said, here's what I'm thinking. Right. And
Yeah, 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 exactly. Exactly. But the good news is, look, it took Connie and I all those years, from starting at the end of December of 2012,
mm-hmm.
uh, to get to the place that we are today. Okay. Doesn't have to be everybody's story, because look, the help that's out, that's available today, numerous practices all over the place.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Both in terms of recovery, sobriety, and in relational recovery. We didn't have that. We didn't
Mm-hmm.
have that, and so that doesn't have to be everybody's story today. Excuse me. If you get to that place, and look, nobody wakes up one morning and says, I think I'm tired of watching porn. I don't think I'm going to watch porn anymore. That's not the way it usually happens, right?
Right. We usually say
No,
that after the fact. I'm never going to do this again until the next cycle starts.
right. And look, truth is, most of us get busted, right? We
Right.
get caught,
Yep.
right? One way or another. And I did a Bible study over a decade ago, and the question was, does God reveal all sin? 15 scriptures later, I closed the book and it was an emphatic yes, he does. And so the question becomes, okay, whose timeline do I want the truth to come out on?
Mm-hmm.
Mine or God's timeline?
Jordan Peterson said, I love this quote. You can either deal with it now or you can deal with it later. So choose your hell. Right? And so if I could encourage any guy who's going to be listening to this in the future, the hell that you're going to experience by proactively being honest and transparent and
Yes,
open is way less, I promise you, than the hell you're going to experience when you get the text from your wife that says, I can't believe I trusted you because she found something, right? Which was my story.
that's absolutely the truth. Absolutely the truth. Look, the lie is always worse than whatever happened or whatever you did.
Right.
Lie is always, always worse as far as a partner is concerned, as far as a wife is concerned.
Yep.
No question about that.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to
None
hurt.
whatsoever.
Yeah, it's going to hurt regardless.
So what I finished what I was saying earlier, and that is that look, there is hope and healing for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
There is hope and there's healing for all of us. Okay. And if somebody would call our practice, uh, and they would say, "Yeah, I'm supposed to be working with this guy named Bob Spiegel," and there'll be a little chuckle on the end, and let's say it's about sobriety, and the person will say to them, "Well, you're in good hands because if Bob can get sober, anybody can." And I wear that as a badge of honor. I do, and it's because it's true, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm a testimony to the fact that you can do it, and you can have a rewarding, emotionally connected, intimate relationship with your wife.
Yeah.
And
And one of the most powerful things I think, because it's no guarantee that the marriage, there's no guarantee that the marriage will survive. That is an uncomfortable truth, right? But I think, this is my opinion here, I think a lot of the times when men take that step and they're proactively honest and they say, well, there's hope, I'm going to try it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to go for it, and they're honest with their wife, yep, it's going to hurt, yep, it's going to suck, but they actually really discover how amazing their wife is by sticking with them through the crap, through the pain of the sobriety.
there's an opportunity to build a brand new relationship
That's it.
because after discovery, that relationship that was is dead and gone.
Gone.
It's dead
That's it.
and gone. What we're going to do now is we're going to create version 2.0,
Yeah.
version
Yeah.
2.0 based on humility and honesty and vulnerability, those kind of values that we want to build the relationship on.
So where can guys find you? You said it's your practice. How can they reach you, connect with you, all that? We'll put
Sure.
some links in the show notes too.
I'm currently, Connie and I are both currently employed with Daring Ventures
Hmm.
out of Houston. We're here in Dallas. We have a Dallas office. And we also have a private practice called Reconciled Relationships.
Hmm.
Reconciled Relationships. Uh,
Wonderful.
we don't have the website up for the Reconciled Relationships yet, but to get a hold of me, I'm Bob at daringventures.com. Bob at daringventures.com or Bob at reconciled-relationships.com. relationalhealth.com.
Awesome. So here to kind of wrap things up, I have a question, just a random question for you. What is your favorite thing about working with men and women through the relational healing process?
The most favorite thing is when I can see the needle on the relationship moving a little bit,
Mm,
little bit, a little bit, making some progress. That's what warms my heart. That's what brings me joy.
awesome.
It really does.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. Well, Bob, I really appreciate your time tonight. Thank you so much for sharing your story and just getting into what you're passionate about to help guys and help heal their marriage and their relationship, and that's fantastic. I hope there's a guy out there running a bulldozer or a haul truck or something like that who's like, "What, really?" And he just connects with your story because he can get there. Or maybe some dude who's crazy to jump out of perfectly good airplanes as well will connect with your story and reach out to him, and they can have hope too. So yeah, man, getting in a group of guys who understand and know your struggle is not as scary as you think it is.
that's right.
I think that's the voice of shame and fear and all of that kind of stuff is trying to keep you
Absolutely.
stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get
Yep.
in there and they all wrap around you and say, "Man, we love you too. It's good."
If you'd asked me this question, maybe 15 years ago, I'd have said, operating a motor grader.
Yeah,
I
Bob's
was,
favorite thing.
unfortunately, I was a desk jockey most of the time,
Right.
as the owner. But man, I'd love to go out there and mess around with that motor grader. You know,
Engine in the front, engine in the back,
engine
in the
in the
back.
back, motor grader. Yeah. With all those handles on there,
Yeah,
kind of got to be able to walk, talk, and chew gum at the same time. And
right.
I really enjoyed doing that. I didn't get to do it very much, but and I wasn't any good, but still I enjoyed getting out there and knocking a few humps down every now and then.
I hauled one once down into North Carolina, and it had an engine in the front and engine in the back, and it was kind of fun trying to figure out. We had like spotters because once you get close to the trail, you can't see nothing, and you're putting this 10 plus wide machine, with the big pan sticking way out there. Good
Talking about a
times.
scraper. Talking about a scraper.
Scraper, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Twin engine. Yes, I know what you're talking about.
yeah. Those are old
627s.
school.
I had some of those back in the day.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah,
That's fun. Well, Bob, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for being on Hands Like Hide, for sharing your story. I hope it
absolutely.
transforms. Hope it teaches somebody. And listener, dude, if you found hope and some energy and some motivation to get in a group and get into some recovery, like the podcast, share it, follow it. It helps just kind of get this message out more. Let's get Bob's story out there and try to get some more guys healed and marriages restored. How about it? What you got?
And one last thing I want to say is that look, all the acting out stuff is all about intensity. It's
Hmm.
all about intensity. Okay, the intensity of it. When you establish an emotionally connected relationship with your wife, that's the real thing.
Hmm.
That's the real thing. And you will never experience the physical part as good as it is then, as opposed to back in the days of the intensity, which was just open, void, yeah, meaningless,
Meaningless.
meaningless. Yeah. So it's worth it.
Promiseless.
It's worth it.
Thank you, Bob, so much for your time, brother. I wish you well.
Absolutely.
All right. Take care.
God bless.
Bye.
Bye.